This is MRN Out Loud on MRN.com, presented by Bloomin' Mondays at Outback Steakhouse. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
MRN Out Loud, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Woody Kane and Joey Meyer along with you. Joey spotting for the Wood Brothers in Paul Menard. And we're talking about what happened at Chicagoland Speedway. It was hot again. We do have a first-time winner. Those are always cool. We saw a four-time winner in the Xfinity Series in Cole Custer. Brett Moffitt gets win number 2 in the Truck Series, the defending champ. But how about Alex Bowman? He had finished second 3 times this season. Looks like he's going to do it again when Kyle Larson gets by him late, and then he rallies back to take the win and go to victory lane for the first time.
You know, for those listeners that have listened to this show on multiple occasions, we've talked about where is Hendrick Motorsports? You know, and we mentioned Chase Elliott's won a race this year, and the operation has really been working along. They've been the weaker of the Chevrolet teams. Kurt Busch and Kyle Larson have done a not much better, but definitely a better job in the new Chevrolet than Hendrick Motorsports. But you saw the progress trickling. You saw the multiple second places with Alex, the win with Chase, and you knew Jimmy Johnson and those guys weren't just he's not
that
washed
was as racy as I've seen Jimmy since since the Clash.
And then you're 1,000%. And what you saw yesterday was all 4 cars during the period of the day were up front, top 5 contending, battling each other for seconds and thirds, and Alex Bowman running all those multiple seconds gave him the confidence. In other words, it gave him the extra drive. What's the one thing he said when he was asked, how did you get back by Kyle Larson? And he said, I'm tired of finishing second.
Yep,
you know, and so that drive is that extra incentive. We all look for that little bit extra to try to make it work, whether it's going from 5th to 4th or 3rd to 2nd, or in Bowman's case, 2nd to 1st.
He talked about that very thing after the race yesterday. Let's check it out.
I just kind of tired of running second. I felt like we had a car capable of winning. We got held up there for a little while. I got super frustrated with some lap cars just not helping us, which they don't have to help us, but that's just kind of part of it. You know, we lost a big lead there, and I got pretty frustrated, burnt the right rear tire off trying to get around some lap cars, and when Kyle got around me, I was going to tear the right side off it, trying to run the fence or get back around him. So glad we kept it out of the fence, and I was kind of surprised that he left the top open the way he did and left clean air up there, and surprised it worked. I guess I should have moved up there earlier, but I didn't want to run second again.
And that's the determination that you talked about. Speaking of that, Greg Ives, his crew chief, was right beside him there, and it was really cool to hear him dedicate the victory to his mom, who had passed away, I think about 2 years ago, but had been waiting to dedicate that victory to her.
You know, Greg Ives associated with Dale Earnhardt Jr. for so long with a lack of success that was really they thought they would go in and be really strong, and it really wasn't that strong of a performance with wins. So it's really good to see Hendrick Motorsports and that team rally behind Greg stay with Alex Bowman, and be able to get that car to victory lane. I will say that one of the lap cars that he was contending with, unfortunately, was the 21 car.
So it's all your fault.
It absolutely, 1,000%. But here's the dilemma that we're in. At the time when Bowman caught us, we are still on the lead lap.
And you want to stay there in case there's a caution.
Because we were really good with 10, 12-lap runs, right? The 40-lap runs were killing us. The car that we were racing for the free pass was directly behind Alex. So the minute we quote-unquote, let Alex go by, well, now we have the car that we're directly racing passing us as well because you lose so much momentum.
Yeah.
At that point in time, it's not that you're trying not to help the leader.
You're trying to help yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. And there was a little discrepancy on the roof with Kevin Hamlin, and I guess he came down and said, hey, we want the bottom. I'm like, I don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's I don't care. Because we're
I'm not telling you I don't care, but I don't care.
I don't care because we're trying to race to stay on the lead lap. We're trying to fend off our own villains, our own enemies, without worrying. And I said at the time you had a 2-second lead, and we did chew up that lead, and that's exactly what Bowman was talking about. I was glad to see those guys get that monkey off their back, if you will. We saw that multiple second-place finishes and how that second-place finish drove him to not accept allowing Kyle Larson to get by him. And like he said,
when you've had enough, you had enough.
Exactly right. This is mine, and I'm taking it. And we've talked about this sport being very selfish. We were selfish trying to stay on the lead lap, but more importantly, Bowman was selfish by taking that victory away from Kyle Larson.
He could have just settled and refused to do it.
Exactly.
It took him 134 tries to get there, but Alex Bowman goes to victory lane for the first time in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. We'll talk more about that. Joey's got a soapbox item for us that I know you'll want to hear, and it's about business, the business of racing. We'll also talk a little bit more about the Xfinity Series. Cole Custer gets his 4th win. They'll be racing this Friday night in Daytona. Friday night, Saturday night events at Daytona International Speedway. And we got to talk a little bit of truck racing. Even though they're off this week, Brett Moffitt goes back to victory lane. Don't forget, it is Outback Steakhouse, but it is not Blue Monday because Kevin Harvick finished 14th. Little Joey's not too happy, but you can still go by. They got a lot of great specials, especially for lunch. Check them out at Outback Steakhouse. More coming up next.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right. Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules. Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Here's your chance to win a set of your very own Hercules tires. Go to HerculesTires.com/MRN. Simply register, and each month we'll give away one set of tires. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading mileage coverage to get you wherever you need to go, no matter where the road takes you. Register now for your chance to win a set of Hercules tires at HerculesTires.com/MRN. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
Pocono Raceway is summertime. It's where kids are free and everyone's welcome to camp out for the weekend. It's where fans can shake hands with the most famous drivers on earth. It's where tailgating is serious business. It's where first-timers hang out with old-timers, and the racing's always a little tricky. Bring your friends, bring your family, just bring it. Pocono style. The Gander RV 400, July 26th to 28th. Kids under 12, free all weekend.
I don't know. I'm pretty speechless. I feel like I kind of just want to get home and enjoy it with my friends. It's something that it's all I've wanted my whole life, and now that we went and won a race, I don't really know what to do with myself a little bit, but just very thankful for Hendrick Motorsports, Exalta, Nationwide, Lumar, Valvoline, everybody that stuck behind somebody with. I don't come from a racing family. I don't have a big resume. I kind of went from running in the back every week to doing this, and still not really quite sure how that all happened, but it's been a heck of a ride, and just very thankful for the opportunity, and thankful for getting to work with people like Greg Ives and this 88 team.
Alex Bowman, after his first victory, it came at Chicagoland Speedway. The first guy to get his first victory at Chicagoland Speedway. They set track records for passes overall and green flag passes for the lead. So all in all, the numbers look very good for that race. Alex Bowman was in the top 10 in the standings. He's up to 9th right now, and with that win, all but assures himself a playoff spot unless we see something crazy happen here over the next 9 races. But he mentioned something there that I think leads us to what you wanted to discuss on the soapbox. He talked about riding around in the back when he wasn't in a premium ride like he is now with Hendrick Motorsports. Recently, we've seen a lot of announcements from some teams about this guy making his first Cup start, that guy making his first Cup start, and it has to do with the business model.
You know, we never heard about Alex Bowman when he was running in the back, okay? But the fact of the matter is he's got over 130 starts. They're all not at Hendrick Motorsports.
Right.
He had to get the experience somewhere, somehow, whatever the case may be. He ran multiple races over at a lower funded team when nobody knew or even cared.
Yeah.
Nobody even knew or cared who Alex Bowman was. But he was building his library. And how was he building his library? He went out and sold himself and was able to help the team sponsor his race car. And so many drivers nowadays get on the bad side of social media because they're buying their rides. let's break it down in real simple terms. The business model of NASCAR racing is somebody has to go knock on the door with their hands out asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
In return, we try to make an arrangement to give you something for your money that doesn't cost money. We're going to give you a service. We're going to give you a brand. We're going to give you a banner, or we're going to go to another sponsor and get something from them that you might want. So you're going to give me $5.
B2B, business to
That's
business.
it.
Yeah.
You're going to give me $5. I'm going to go to the burger place down the road, and they're going to give me free hamburgers. I'm going to give you a free hamburger for giving me $5. Now I got $5. I started the day. I didn't have it. Whether the owners do this or the drivers do this or a business agent do this, which there are plenty of these in sports, there are business agents that deal with sponsors.
And put those deals together.
That's how the business model works. We give you something that doesn't cost us anything, but it's a product, a service, a ad, and you in turn give us money because you want and you're going to benefit from what we're giving you in return. Or we're going to give... In theory,
yeah.
Exactly. You know, Super Bowl commercials, which is the most notorious commercial product in the world, I believe.
Everybody wants to know how much a 30-second or a 60-second ad costs and how much revenue they generate.
$5 million event to have a 30-second commercial. Well, a $5 million event would run the entire K&N series, the entire ARCA series together simultaneously. For an entire $5 million, you could almost run the whole truck schedule, right?
Well, you could, but I'm talking about competitive, top-notch team. Right.
But the important factor is what you said is sometimes you have to start at the bottom and get experience. I'm going to say this right now. Without the time spent over at BK Racing and the frustration and building that personality that we know as Alex Bowman, he doesn't win that race yesterday. He's built himself up. How did he build himself up? By knocking on those doors and getting that money. And if drivers are willing to do it and they're doing a better job of it than these marketing agencies or the team owners themselves, who cares where it comes from? The business model is bring in some money and we race. And that's simple like that. Quit beating these drivers up that are doing a really good job.
That's the only way they have to market themselves and get themselves that seat time now.
And if you,
the old model of you drive pretty well, I think I like you, I'll put you in my seat. That's old school. That's gone now.
That's it. The same thing we can say about when I got into this sport, you would not have seen a driver under the age of 30. When Jeff Gordon came into the sport, one of the things that was heralded about him was what? How young he was. Because you were competing against the Terry Labanis and the Bobby Labanis and the Dale Earnhardts and the Sterling
Back
Marlins.
in that day, the owners wanted to know this guy is responsible and he knows enough about what he's doing to not destroy 8 of my cars while he learns.
And he had the experience based on coming up through the ranks, right? So he was 35 years old. Guy had 15 years of experience, not wrecking cars. Well, nowadays, these younger kids are getting started at 14, 15, younger than that probably. And so the age isn't indicative of how many years of experience they have.
Right, they're starting so much
exactly.
younger. Yeah.
So if the drivers we see, it doesn't matter where the sponsorship comes from. These drivers aren't just getting money and going, hey, I want to race today. If you and I won the lottery, the lotto today, we're not getting in a car at Daytona this weekend. It doesn't
although
work.
some guy did that in the truck series a few years ago.
But you had to start at the lower level, right?
Right.
So if a guy is coming in and he's going to run a cup car for the first time, that's not his first race. The guy has been going through a procedure and got qualified and certified by NASCAR through a resume process of other races. Let's quit beating these guys up. Let's applaud them. In other words, and that's, I guess, my point is that here they are doing something good, and we're bashing them. Every driver starts at the bottom somewhere. We don't know where they came from. Alex Bowman spent plenty of time in a lower-funded car running around where nobody knew who he was. Now he's standing in victory lane.
I'll give you an idea, an analogy here, a comparison that kind of goes, we'll talk a little more truck racing later, but Brett Moffitt, remember, last year was with Hattori, wins the championship, but there were some times in the middle of the year where they didn't know if they were going to have enough money to make it to the next race and were out with their hand out publicly the whole time trying to get more sponsors. Well, at the end of the year, he loses that ride after winning the championship, goes over to GMS Racing, He's the defending champ. He's won 2 times this year, including this past weekend at Chicagoland Speedway. So he goes to victory lane, nothing on the truck.
Yep.
White hood, completely white hood. Spencer Gallagher is with GMS Racing. That's his family organization. Here's what he had to say about that afterwards.
The statement is that the winning race truck is available for sponsorship to those organizations that want to be a member of a winning team and future championship team, I believe I'm dare say right now. We're consistent in our messaging.
So he's making the same point there is even though he's doing it as an owner, it's unusual that they believed in the driver and they would put a top-notch championship-winning driver in their vehicle and then use that success, they hope, to turn that into sponsorship. He wins without any sponsorship on the hood.
Every fire starts initially with a spark or an ignition.
Mm-hmm.
And what those guys are doing is instead of trying, they're going out looking for sponsors, right?
Yeah.
But they're trying to spark an interest or spark a fire from another sponsor that says, you mean to tell me that truck's not sponsored? We could get on that truck?
Right.
Somebody that they haven't talked to already, somebody that might be interested in this sport, somebody that Brett Moffitt has seen on TV, that those guys, hey, wow, we can get on that truck?
Mm-hmm.
So having a all-white truck is really a statement from them going, we're available.
Yeah.
We have a championship-winning team. Let's build a relationship. And that's one of the words that we use in this sport, and I'm not going to say overuse it, but some people don't understand, and that's relationships. It's a business-to-business model. We can give you something for your equity in return. And that's what we're trying to build. That's what those guys, and they made that statement this weekend with that all-white truck.
Yeah, and don't forget, it wasn't all that long ago that Brett Moffitt was the next up-and-coming thing, and then Michael Waltrip Racing implodes, and then he bounces around for a while, finally gets in with Hattori, goes on and wins the championship, and that's not enough to keep the ride because money talks.
Well, and again, the driver that's in that truck that Brett Moffitt had a better business relationship.
Right.
And that's
not a criticism of Austin Hill in any way.
Absolutely not. It's simply, again, about relationships, about equitable relationships, and what's better. Hattori is a business. Mm-hmm. If I came to your house and said, hey, I'm going to give you, and I was an attractive woman and you were still dating, let's really
a lot of big ifs there.
Yeah. But my point is, if I give you a better opportunity and you have 2 opportunities in your hand, you're like, wow, this is a really good opportunity. This is a great opportunity. And you're a business owner. You got to take the great opportunity over the really good one.
In most cases,
and that's what Hattori did. That's simply business models, and we see that all around in this sport because that's what we live off of. We live off of the simple fact of donations. Mm-hmm. It's all about somebody giving us something and then we giving you back in return.
It absolutely is. Another break here on MRN Out Loud. When we come back, we'll talk a little Xfinity racing and start setting you up for what's going to happen or what we think might happen at Daytona this weekend.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules. Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
Here's your chance to win a set of your very own Hercules tires. Go to HerculesTires.com/MRN. Simply register, and each month we'll give away 1 set of tires. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading mileage coverage to get you wherever you need to go, no matter where the road takes you. Register now for your chance to win a set of Hercules tires at HerculesTires.com/MRN. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
Pocono Raceway is summertime. It's where kids are free and everyone's welcome to camp out for the weekend. It's where fans can shake hands with the most famous drivers on earth. It's where tailgating is serious business. It's where first-timers hang out with old-timers, and the racing is always a little tricky. Bring your friends, bring your family, just bring it. Pocono style. The Gander RV 400, July 26th to 28. Kids under 12 free all weekend.
I'm
mean, I guess not, but I knew we were going to be good. It was just a matter of how long it was going to take us to get there, I think. You know, we both have won a lot, races before, and they were really good last year with Mike and Davin. So it was just a matter of how long it was going to take, for us to learn each other and learn the cars and everything. And I think we really, we started at Fontana. So it's really, started off really good. So I think we're just going to get better and better throughout the year.
Cole Custer, his 4th win of the season. It comes at Chicagoland Speedway. Tyler Reddick still leads the point standings. He's 71 ahead of Cole. But when you look at playoff positioning right now, Cole Custer 4 wins, Christopher Bell 4 wins. Those guys have 28 and 26 playoff points. They are the leaders there. Tyler Reddick with 3 wins, and then it's everybody else beyond them.
There are a group of drivers that come into this sport and immediately make an impression. Social media, performance, on-track, interactions. Sometimes you start and you make a change as you come into the sport. Cole Custer, watching him mature and come out of his shell, clearly, if there was a most improved off the track, he was so introverted when he came into sport. He
could barely even look at people.
Right. He had a hard time.
He's just a very shy person.
Exactly. And he has really opened up. And that has shown not only outside the race car, but specifically the way he races and the confidence level. Now he gets on that stage right now and he carries himself. His shoulders are back. His chin is up. He's proud to be a Cole Custer. He does those fantastic social media events with the yoga. Cold Custer.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have done that 2 or 3 years ago. And it's exactly the way he drove. He drove timid. He drove not scared, but he drove shy. And it's amazing to watch his personality outside of the car because that's exactly what he's done inside the car. And we talk about...
Remember how surprising it was when at the Canada truck race, he goes and tackles John Hunter Nemechek after that race. Wait, is that really Cole Custer?
Cole Custer, exactly right. And we almost watched the birth of the new Cole version 2.0 at that moment.
The reboot.
Exactly. And now we see when you talk about Homestead already, you can already see him, Christopher Bell, and Tyler Reddick. We now have a big 3 in the Xfinity Series. We had one last year in the Cup side. We don't have one this year, right? We just have a couple of big teams.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. Now we see the maturity of Cole Custer, the relevance that's been of Christopher Bell, and then Tyler Reddick, who's come out of his shell after winning a championship last year.
Look how much more animated he is now. But you mentioned the big 3 there. We talked about it when Truex won the championship, how much of a war chest of playoff points that he had built up.
Right.
And it was going to be hard for anybody to knock him off that perch because it's like a get-out-of-the-jail-free card. You have a bad race in the playoffs. If you've got that many playoff points built up, you can afford it. You can still continue to move on. That's the situation right now with those big 3. Bell, 28 points in the playoff points, 26 points for Cole Custer, 18 points for Tyler Reddick. No one else has more than 5.
Right. You've almost guaranteed your way into Homestead.
The championship 4.
One of those. The problem is, just like we saw on the Cup side, if multiple people other than those 3 get wins in the playoffs, then they start picking those guys off. But one of those guys, essentially right now at those playoff points, is virtually guaranteed a way to Homestead. And I can't
probably
wait to see,
at least 2 of them.
Absolutely, at least 2. But you can't. Could you imagine that race again? Cole Custer, Christopher Bell, and Tyler Reddick? There's not going to be enough room against the wall.
Yeah, and that was a fun race last year to see those guys. And then you look at the other guys who are close, Austin Cindric, Justin Allgaier, Chase Briscoe's having a pretty nice year. Noah Gregson is still lurking right there. All these guys top 10 in the standings right now. Michael Annett already has a win and will be in the playoffs. There's a lot still to be determined.
Yeah, you have 2 groups. You have those 3 that have clearly risen above, and then you have that other feeding frenzy. Who's going to be 4th? Who's going to be 5th? And realistically, we still wait on the Austin Cindric and his experience and the performance of Team Penske, which has been off one little cog. Joey Logano and Paul Menard ran those cars the last 2 or 3 weeks at Michigan and this week at Chicago. Whenever we see a Cup guy get in a Team Penske car, we expect a dominant performance. And we didn't see that from Paul Menard or Joey Logano. So those guys are off a cog. Then we see Justin.
But how long had it been since, I heard a stat, and I forget the number now, that it had been a year almost since Joey Logano had been in an Xfinity car?
But again, it's doesn't matter.
Right, but
Yeah.
this gets back to the point
Yeah.
of we always ask the regulars, do you want to race against
Yeah.
the Cup guys, or are they stealing your thunder? And they've all said, without fail, no, bring them on. I want to race against them. That's what happened, and Cole Custer drove by Joey Logano a few times.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And then Joey got out of the car and said, I didn't have anything for him. And that was a huge compliment coming from last year's Cup champion. We still wait on Justin Allgaier to explode and not have an issue. Every single race, it's not speed, it's the execution of that race. Michael Annett already has the win. He's already in the initial playoff hunt. And we're just looking for those other drivers to step up and be that 4th or 5th place guy in the points. And right now we haven't seen it.
The other issue that came out of the Xfinity race was the disqualification of Christopher Bell afterwards, and now the second week in a row, I think it is, that we've seen that type of thing happen. The previous one was in the truck series. Now we've seen it on the Xfinity side. Is the message getting across?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's you're not trying, and again, there's a different argument we could make every week. We're not trying to not pass inspection. We're just pushing, they're pushing
Get right up
envelope.
to the edge.
And again, that's the second week in a row now that we've had a car too low and failed to meet heights. And that's really a difficult situation because, A, we don't have it in the Cup side.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're trying to do is manage the heights of these cars so that it's a hard explanation, but you're trying to control costs with the technology of the springs that go in these cars that still compress at the rate you want them, but have enough rebound to push the car back up to the height. So that's why
you see him after the race kind of bouncing the cars around and pushing them around in the garage.
It is a cost-saving measure, but right now it's unfortunate because the performance of Christopher Bell in the previous week with Chastain, the actual on-track performance was a minimal gain at most for the post-race issue. But I think these two teams, again, Christopher Bell already has enough wins. We already just got done talking. He's already going to Homestead.
Yeah, you would think.
Joe Gibbs Racing has already said, we're not going to appeal. We get it. And just move on and get rid of it. So
and they've re-signed him for next year. He just doesn't know what he's going to drive specifically.
And
yet.
that's fine. That's a good place to be.
How many guys would cut off a pinky to have that deal, even if they didn't know what car they were going to drive?
Right. I mean, it's a good deal. It's a good problem to have, to be signed up at Joe Gibbs Racing and go, yeah, we don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah. But he's there. You know he's going to be somewhere. You just don't know exactly where yet. Yeah. Don't forget, though, the Xfinity Series is back in action this weekend at Daytona International Speedway. The Circle K Firecracker 250, powered by Coca-Cola, comes your way on Friday night. That's 7 o'clock Eastern Time, July 5th. From Daytona, we'll have it live for you right here on the Motor Racing Network. We got a little bit of truck talk to get to. Then we'll start talking about Daytona, and there's a lot coming up there this weekend.
G'day, America. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right, Outback Delivery is here. Now you can enjoy all your Outback favourites anywhere. Our signature centre cut sirloin at home.
It's here.
Or game day party platters with Kookaburra wings that'll have both teams cheering.
It's here.
Or steak and lobster for a date night at home.
It's here.
Head over to Outback.com and place your orders because Outback Delivery is here. Outback Steakhouse. Aussie rules.
Delivery availability varies. Delivery charge may apply.
On July 6th, gather your family and friends for summer's biggest celebration, the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. Experience a weekend of excitement with racing under the lights and celebrate Independence Day with patriotic tributes and the region's largest fireworks display over the infield at Daytona. The Coke Zero Sugar 400 will be a celebration to remember. Adult tickets start at $49, kids $20. Lock in your seats at 1-800-PIT-SHOP or DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
For more than 80 years, Detroit Diesel has been the legendary driving force powering many of the best-known trucks on the road. Through our state-of-the-art Detroit technologies in components and safety systems, we've earned our customers' trust as a reliable business partner dedicated to improving their bottom line. It's no wonder they continue to depend on Detroit to keep them safe and efficient on the road. When you demand it all, demand Detroit.
It was the whole team. We had a really good Chevy Silverado. Jerry and the guys gave me a fast truck and a drivable truck. And it's one thing to have speed. It's one thing to be able to move top to bottom and have speed everywhere you go. So pit stops, if you can make up ground, it's always a big plus. But I felt like we had a truck capable of passing trucks, especially on the long run. We didn't really fall off much, and I could get up to the fence and be able to have good speed. So I'll always take coming off pit road first,
but I feel like a hell of a lot more than that went into winning this race.
Brett Moffitt on the pit stop that helped get him to victory lane, but he had to have a good truck as well. Second win of the season for Moffitt, the defending Gander Outdoors Truck Series champion. Austin Hill has a victory. Johnny Sauter has a victory. Those are the only 3 regulars who have victories this season. And as we start talking about which of those guys we might see at Homestead, Miami, there's a pretty good list there. Stuart Friesen has been so close so many times. Grant Enfinger has led the points for most of the season, but the wins have been few and far between.
You know, it's interesting. Consistency is hard to beat, and that's what Grant Enfinger and those guys that are leading the points without wins have done. But what I love about Brett Moffitt is he was awarded the win the last time we raced in the Truck Series through default. He finished second to Ross Chastain. Ross did not pass post-tech, and they gave Brett Moffitt, and he didn't get to celebrate.
And he comes back and drinks a beer at the podium. That's fantastic.
I love the very next race they go out and perform. They didn't fall into it. They didn't trip into it. It wasn't that nobody else didn't show up and there was one truck on the race. They went out and showed, look, we're a winning team. We're a championship. He's a championship driver, and we are good. And I love the fact that he was able to back up what some would call a gift win, right? The trophy doesn't say that. The trophy says winner of Gateway. But now they have 2 back-to-back, and clearly I believe GMS is getting their feet under themselves, and we're going to see better performances from those guys, whether they're going to be white trucks or not.
Right.
Obviously, Brett Moffitt did an amazing job at Hattori last year taking care of his trucks.
He can get you some exposure if you're a sponsor.
Exactly, and then battling the likes of Johnny Sauter last year, who's one of the most seasoned veterans and grizzly bear, if you will, mentality in that series. So Brett has that experience on his shoulders, and now they're starting to get their footing over there at GMS. It's a new team. That's a new relationship. Again, we use that word a lot here, but that's what that builds. And as you're going on, last week was good for those guys, but this week was even better.
And the other thing that's going on in the Truck Series right now is a growing rivalry between Austin Hill at Hattori and seems now most of the guys at ThorSport Racing. It was Johnny Sauter previously. That led to Johnny getting suspended. This past weekend, he and Grant Enfinger, Hill and Enfinger, have words post-race on pit road. And you always say if they're mad, it must have been a good show.
You know, again,
but the rivalry is budding.
Exactly right. A selfish sport, man. We talk about it over and over again. Austin Hill has something that ThorSport wants. ThorSport has something that Austin Hill's trying to take, and at the end, you can't have 2 trucks finishing third. You can't have 2 trucks finishing fifth. And the biggest thing I love, we had Austin Hill sitting here a couple of weeks ago, very confident young man, drives over from Salisbury, spends time with his team, really trying to build it. I love that he's owning what he's doing on the track, and that speaks volumes to his confidence level. Now, obviously, he's not running 15th, and this is happening. He's running in the top 5. He's running in the top 3.
Contending.
He's contending for victories, and the guys that he's battling with are simply not happy with how he's driving. But Austin Hill isn't cowering going, man, I'm really sorry that this is happening, and it's just a tough break. He's owning it.
He doesn't care.
We saw that video. Grant Enfinger, the points leader, a seasoned veteran, walked away and get your hands on. This is a confident
we were this far from a scrap.
Absolutely.
We were right up against it.
And again, that'd be a hell of a fight. Because Austin Hill's a big guy and Grant Enfinger's an experienced guy, not really tall, not really that short. He's a good stocky guy too. But the really thing I like is the fact that Austin Hill is owning. He's making a name and standing up for himself, whether you like it or not. It's irrelevant. To battle the likes of Johnny Sauter, and we can talk about who to blame on that wreck and when it started, when they started beating and banging the Grant Enfinger. I don't know. It's interesting to see whether it's ThorSport or just the simple fact that we've talked about Grant Enfinger, Johnny Sauter, and Austin Hill, and all of those guys are finishing in the top 5.
Right.
You have 2.
May just be proximity.
That's exactly right. And moving forward, it's interesting to see how detrimental it becomes to Austin Hill, because if enough guys get mad, his life just becomes difficult.
Right.
But I love
it's
that
great
he's
to see
it.
the personality and the fire from all those guys who are mixed up in it. Unfortunately, the trucks don't race this coming weekend. They're off. They'll be back in action the following week at Kentucky, and that's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday triple header coming up at Kentucky Speedway that's going to be fun to watch.
I look forward to, golly, it's one of my favorite weekends coming up this weekend is at Daytona, the night race, the Xfinity race on Friday.
And the last time we're going to do that. Hey, you all right there? Everything okay? While you there you go. While you elevate your game, we'll continue with that conversation, but it's the last time we're going to have the 4th of July night race at Daytona.
Yep, and I've been very fortunate personally to be associated with some great teams over at DEI and at Team Penske, and we've won some races there. But I love night racing, cup racing at Daytona. I love restrictor plate racing, and with this new configuration, this will be a non-restrictor plate race, very similar to what we saw last time at Talladega. Large packs, being able to pass, and it's just a great weekend. I love Friday and Saturday night racing at Daytona.
How different is from your perspective, bird's eye view perspective, the tapered spacer, which we're going to have at Daytona this time? We didn't the first time. We did see it at Talladega versus the old plate. Because we used the old rules last time at Daytona, the previous year's rules.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is it's difficult for me to ask or to determine what made a bigger difference, the restrictor plate to the tapered spacer, or that big honking spoiler we got on the back with that radiator pan and everything, and it's the extra drag. And that's what I notice more than anything is the drag and the profile of these cars that look more like trucks. And I think it has to do more from the aero drag standpoint.
More about momentum.
More momentum and a bigger air pocket behind these trucks that looks like the trucks behind these cars. I'm not sure I notice a huge difference in the engine and the acceleration. We do have a little more torque available to us. The engines respond a little more
with the tapered spacer versus the plate.
It's exactly, it's just more efficient. It's a more efficient operation. The engine people love the tapered spacer relative to the restrictor plate. But I think it's the spoiler and the radiator pan, the drag configuration of the car that we notice more from the roof.
All right, folks, don't forget now we've got a lot coming up here on the Motor Racing Network as we get set to head to Daytona. But first, we want to tell you about a new podcast series we've got starting up on the 9th of July. It's called Jeff Gordon, The Colorful Career of the Rainbow Warrior. That's going to come your way starting that next week. Make sure you catch all those. They'll be dropping weekly for you. When we get to Daytona, we'll have practice on Thursday for the Coke Zero Sugar 400. And we'll have qualifying on that Friday night as well. Saturday night, Friday night, the Xfinity Series race. Saturday night, the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Make sure you check MRN.com for all those scheduled details. I'm Woody Kane. That's Joey Meyer. We'll see you right back here next week for MRN Out Loud.